Good evening, everybody. I can tell already that this is broken. Very broken. Very, very broken. It's not playing the music, and I don't know why. And the answer is because, well, it's not. So basically nothing is working. My buttons aren't working. The music's not working. I mean, I can make the Amazon music work, but I can't make the music work. For some reason. Well, that might be working. There you go. So, I don't know. It is, there is potentially a lot of things not working right now. So, it's going to be one of those days. I knew that the moment I hit OBS and it went, hey, there's a really important update. I need to restart. So it didn't do my countdown because it didn't do the countdown thing. So the auto switcher thing that I've got that's built in isn't working. It's not talking to me buttons. So I just had a minute hope that my button would work, but it's not. Rory, it's going to be a long day, isn't it? Yes. It's going to be a long day. I'm going to want to press buttons, and, well, it's not going to want to do that, is it? No. It's a bit like you. You want to be a good boy, but it's not going to happen. No, do not puke. No. I've just fed you, for goodness sake. Right, let me click on other things the hard way. Where's pillow? There it is. So let's get down. This is where we were when we finished yesterday. Not doing too bad, to be fair. I also, hello, got these in the post. Now, for those of you who have watched me, you'll know that obviously I have these very pretty sticks. Well, now I have baby sticks. Look how sweet they are. Little tiny baby sticks. So good if for when I want to keep bunches of, a pair or a couple of pairs of bobbins together and to do some work with them as one. Hello, Rory. Rory, darling, I love you, and I'm sure the internet loves you because you are very cute, but you're not helping. No. So, one of the things I was going to preface today with, I am slightly distracted. Today would have been my dad's 78th birthday. And, well, obviously, he died. So, that's not going to happen. But it does weigh on my mind that today is his birthday. And it's been not a bad day. It's not been a bad day. It's just been one of those days where I've kind of wondered where he was and what he's been up, what he would have been up to. The answer to that, of course, is watching Border Force and smoking his pipe, which, of course, is what killed him. So, let's be honest there. Now, Rory, I know you love me, especially because I fed you, but off now. Off. Bear off. So, let us get back down to the deal at hand. And it all looks different. It looks lower to me. And I don't know why. Don't know why it looks lower, but it does. And I'm sure that it's not, but part of me says that it is. Oh, Rory. Come on then. Come on. Got to come up through the small hole, not the 2.5 person sized hole. There you go. So good boy. So now you're on the bit that you could have got to without that. Well done. Actually, before we do that, let's make this all longer. Because, well, we need to make it longer. You can bite it. It's unusual for him to bark, so. Handle it is. Now I need to see what's going on here because there seems to be 3 pairs of bobbins all mangled together, so push you to one side a bit. I made a phone call today trying to find out I can't see this at all. You look like you should be coming out, and you are. It's this that seems wonky. Yeah, something's not right. Oh no, you're over there, that's fine. So I phoned up about the opticians, or an opticians, about getting some glasses, because there's a trend over here in the UK, so, because obviously I can't speak for other countries, where they have this really massive kind of grey plastic, almost comedy-sized glasses thing that they slap in front of your face. And it's actually got a whole pile of electronics in it. And the problem I have is that, you know when they kind of do the better, worse kind of thing, right? Well, the problem is the machine only has one speed. And the problem I have with it is that when something kind of clunks and blurs and fannies around in front of my eyes, I automatically shut them to protect them because, well, they're a bit shit. I want to hang on to what I've got. And so, of course, what actually happens is that it goes better, worse. I don't know, I blinked both times. All I saw was the inside of my eyelids. You'll have to do it. It's like, well, we can't. Well, this is... And then there's the aspect of, you know, better, worse kind of thing. And the answer is I have to look, get a really good look, then you show me the other one, and I will tell you which was better or worse. It's not a gut reaction thing, right? I can't do gut reaction. Unless you've kind of, you know, taken the whole thing away and I'll go definitely worse or better. If it's kind of subtle, I need to spend a bit of time thinking about it. Because that's how my brain works. It likes to over-process these things. And too many of them use this confounded thing. And it means that I cannot have them do my eye test. Which is because, like, and when I found out, I said, have you got one of those fancy things? And he went, unfortunately, I went, oh, thanks for that. And he went, what do you mean? I went, it can't do my eyesight. My brain freaks out. Because it does. My brain refuses to see some of them. And I can't tell you whether it's closer or further away. Because my brain goes, well, it's both. I can make it either. What do you want? And so I can't give you an honest answer. And he was like, oh, okay. And I went, so I'm struck, you know, I need to find someone who's got the old style, you know, kind of wire slots with where you have like the little discs in a big tray. And I need that. I need that to be how you do my eyesight. And so I have found somewhere. But unfortunately, they're part of a chain normally renowned for getting you new glasses within an hour. Oh, we can't do that, madam. Oh, it'll be 10 days. Now, I have no problem in waiting 10 days, except for the fact that that means I can't get these updated. Now, we all know that these are somewhat beaten up. The arm got replaced. But, I also asked if they can get rid of coatings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the answer to that was no. To be honest, it sounded more like it was his first day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But, irrelevant of all of that, we'll need that, because we need to do another layer. Irrelevant of the fact that it sounded like his first day, because every question I asked was, oh, I don't know, I think you might be able to get that in one of the high street branches, and you're like, whatever. So it was a little bit of a weird conversation because he really was kind of a bit out of his depths, I think, really. Even though they were technically simple questions. Because when I asked him, what's the rough price of a cheap pair of frames with varifocal lenses without coatings on? Oh, well, with the anti-reflective... No, I just said I don't want that. Oh, well, then the lenses are free. Oh, fuck off, mate. You don't give out varifocal lenses for free. I know better than that. So, but he said it would be 45 quid. Well, if that was true, that would be great. But I know that it's not. So, it's more likely to be 450 quid. So let's not be... So yeah, But I will have to go and do that because these glasses are, you know, it is very difficult. But I will have to go and do that. I just didn't book it today because by the time I'd finished speaking to him, I kind of like, would you like to book an appointment, madam? Well, I probably should, but I'm kind of bored of talking to people right now. I want to kind of go away and do something else now. So I'll think about it, said me. I will book an appointment. They're also easy to get to, easy for parking, which sounds really petty, but here in the UK, finding places to park is actually quite hard. Because especially, bear in mind, I have a little bit of a, well, quite a big bit of a issue of going to places when I don't know where they are. I already know where this is. It's in the big Tesco's. I didn't know they had an opticians in there. That's obviously a new thing, but you know, whatevs. They obviously have an opticians in there now. And why is this so stuck? There we go. But because it's a superstore for food, it's there's parking right outside, so that's a good thing. None of this having to traipse around 30 places wondering where it's. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a big Tesco's. There can be lots of wandering around to find it, but I know how to get to it. I've been there. So no, I don't need to do that. That was the extra layer. So this is now. So I now need a couple of those. Very hard to do lace work with a dog. It is. It's trying to get on my lap. It is basically succeeding in getting on my lap. What is the matter? You've had dinners. You've had dinner. Yes, you have. And you've got water. And you had big huggies. You did. You did have big huggies. You did. You had big huggies. All for a good hour before I started this. You did. I know you did. Because I was there. I was doing them. Oh, little man. Samantha. I really do wish we could talk to them sometimes. And actually be understood and have a conversation. Rather than I talk. I know he listens, but I don't know whether he's hearing what I say. Sometimes I wish he could hear and understand. because I really do need to trim his claws. They're getting a bit long and a bit curly and a bit painful. And he absolutely hates it. But of course, if you just sat fucking still and let me do it, it wouldn't be so traumatic for anybody. Did you just burp in my face, young lady? Oh. Apparently, we both need to try and be in my lap. I have explained this to you both before. I may be fat, but there's not really room for one of you, let alone two of you. I am not that fat, okay? There is room... Yes, I know that means there's room to be fatter, and if I ate more munchies and did all of that, maybe I would be, but we don't want to be that fat, no. And no, we're not going to answer to Sister's growling calls, because she's being stupid. She's being stupid. Leave her be. She's being stupid, Rory. Everything's about to go flying if he decides to get too excitable. Settle down. Because you are not in the best place, are you? No. This is as far as I can reach right now. So although I could do this, I can't reach the pins. For there is a medium to large size black dog in the way. Now, normally the song goes, there's a brown dog in the way, tra-la-la-la-la, to a very well-known tune that we all know. Doesn't really work with black dog in the way. I mean, it could, but it's not quite got the same. Do I need to be licked? I know you care. And I do care too. I really do. Oh, little puppies. I slept like the dead last night. It was great. Little man. Hmm? You're a good boy. You're a good boy. Ah, you is good boy. I don't need to be lickhead, and you do not need to push, and your fallings off. You are. Use fallings off. Use fallings off. Don't be grumpy. You're falling off. I'm trying to stop you falling off. I'm trying to be nice, Mummy. Little man. Little man. You're not littles anymore. No. You are not. You are not littles anymore. I can't. I do need you to trim some of these claws though, because most of them I don't mind, but there's this one, and then there's this one over here. One of these two. Which one is it? This one. They're a bit curly. Oh, and this one, because you can curl them. And then you grip hold of Mummy and it hurts, little man. It does. And if I got out the clippers now, you'd growl and get really upset and freak out. So we can't. Even if I use toenail clippers, which are a lot better for his sister. Come on, off you get. Come on. Oh! Don't leap. It's the leaping that's the problem. Right. So, let's put you all there. Oh, now we are Sans dog. Hello, hello. How are you? Hey, Bailey. Well, I understand that, so don't feel too guilty if you wish to go indoors and into the warm and happy and dry and nice and comforty, and do not feel that you have to brave it just to be here. I mean, much as we'd like you to be here. You know, safety and health and all that kind of rubbish. Definitely do come first. Oh shit, am I? I changed it all. I fucking changed it all. Okay, thanks, Bailey. OBS is distinctly unhappy with me at the moment. Cool. So, OBS hates me a lot at the moment, to a level that only really is known by other countries of the world, I think. You know, it is war. I know I changed this because didn't I do a stream between Bonk and now? And I changed it all. I obviously didn't save it. Definitely went through and fixed this. Yeah. There you go. That's hopefully that's sorted. Thanks, Bailey. This is the problem I find with so much of this is that if I'm going to change and play a game, let's say I get bored now and I decide thanks. But let's say I get bored and decide to go and play Mega Bonk. There isn't a way to have kind of a pre-set up and save, you know, gameplay, lace making, knitting, whatever. You have to completely go and edit it all by hand, and that's a pain in the butt. It's unnecessarily complicated. Be nice if you could have like a pre-made template that you've made, so you just put it all in once, call it, you know, gameplay or whatever, and then So. So yes, it's I have baby sticks. No, it's I mean, it does do a lot of things, and the plugins are really cool, and lots of people have done lots of work, and it does lots of clever things. And at the same time, it can be a bag of pants about it. Because my countdown didn't work when I started, the right things didn't show up when I started, none of my buttons are working anymore. All my bits of buttons that talk to OBS just don't work. And you're just sitting here going, yeah. It's just... And the other problem you have with a lot of these things is it's hard to test without being live. It's not like, you know, in Teams, much as I hate Teams, there's a test call button. There isn't really a test stream, but so it does all the connectivity and does everything, but doesn't actually start a stream. There is none of that, which is really annoying. So you can't kind of see if something works and have it kind of play back the recording to you, or have you as the channel owner the only one that can view the recording it took of it. Bit like it does the VODs, but instead of keeping them, it'll keep them for a really short period of time so that you can test something, go and look at it, and then go, well, that was shit. And you know, redo it until you're happy. There's none of that. And so the only way to find out if your sound works is to go live and ask people. The only way to know if your transitions and everything and all your buttons work really is to try and be live. I'm sure I will get frustrated. And the worst thing is there's almost a part of me that can't understand how it ends up in the pickle. So I managed to get my always stuff showing up. So like my counter, my face in the corner, and the chat. I got all of that working because I installed a newer version of that. But I think what I have to do is for each of my plugins that I've got to go and check if there's a newer version. But I don't see why. There's a bit of me that doesn't see for sure why my buttons aren't working. Because of course neither of them produce any decent logs that says I'm trying to do this with this and I didn't. It just kind of goes, computer said no, which is really kind of irritating. I've tried restarting both of them. But I assume, to be fair, that it's the button end that isn't working, on the grounds that OBS has changed and that some of its calls aren't working the way that it used to. But everything else is still working. So, but I'm not sure that actually talks to OBS directly. So, Actually, it is, because No, that's direct. That's not that. I don't know. Maybe they're not direct. And so because they talk to Twitch and stuff. Yeah. It's one of the more popular streaming things. Hang on. So, I was going to hit my desktop button, but that doesn't really matter. Hang on. So, this is OBS. So you have, like, in this top left-hand corner, I've got the ability to edit my stream data. I can raid people, clip it, stick up polls. I can add run break, advert breaks, and the like. I've got the chat here in the top right-hand corner. I've got the scene that I did just add up. There's my audio down the side, scene options. So you'll recognise some of them. So I've got like my Be Right Back, my dog one. I've got a web browser one. So there you go. I'm watching. And so, like, you know, here's a lot of the things that I have. And then this is the preview of what's going out. And I can vaguely see, because I mean, this is bigger than I normally have it, but I can see my mouth smoothing. So, and that my audio voice here is moving. So it's a fairly good sign. Well, it is. Because, and if I go here, this plugin seems to be corrupt and might cause a crash. And then works. But it's not working. So, I'm going to guess... that it would have worked, except for the fact that, well, OBS got an update. I had to update the little thing that puts my face here in the corner. So I have this scene, which is called Always. Where is it? This one. So this does, like, the graphics with my socials. It's got the chat box, the me. There's the yawn thing. So if I had yawns turned on, they would appear here. Say, sorry, I'm yawning. You know, all of this kind of stuff. That goes in here. And so I managed to fix that one because I updated it. But I think I've got to update all of the others. Now, when I say all, they've introduced the plugins manager. But if you notice, if I hang over updates, it's not going to do it now. But it will say coming soon. There you go. But these are the plugins I've got. So I wasn't sure that this was working. I don't even think I used the blur filter. There's the advanced thing, which we know is not working. The move transition, can't remember what that does. Oh, that does the talky mouth thing. The downstream key was the one I did update. And the countdown timers. So they all seem to work. So it might just be the advanced stream switcher one that's broken. I don't think I used that one. But it meant that but none of my buttons on my Stream Deck are working. So to give you an idea of what I have on my Stream Deck, this is what I have on my Stream Deck. You can't see my actual Stream Deck, but go with it. So I have all these buttons, and I press this one to start and stop stream. I've got mute and stick and yawns and some other things. But none of these buttons are working because if I click on this, it goes waiting for OBS. It's not talking. But everything else is. So I don't know why not. It just ain't. So none of my buttons are working, which is highly irritating. Which means I have to do all the hard work. Yeah, so you spend hours setting up buttons. I mean, let me give you an idea. I am very good at setting up buttons. So, here's a game I play. When they do public play tests, I answer questions. And these buttons, bar this one here, all represent a question. So, where's the bank? Oh, I hate this game, it's shit. Please go and shut the door behind you. Where to find people to sell your shit to. How to talk to the guards. How to look at the user guide. How to find your body. How to get directions. No, there is no map. Oh, that's this Hidden Quest. What's that one then? It's not what I thought it was. Hang on. Oh, how to find out if NPCs got work for you. There's your buddy. These are where the trade skill people are. Here's specific trade skill people. Here's a particular thing that everyone asks about. Here are the various class vendors. Yeah, class masters. You know, I've got them all. Now, in this game, a map would feel wrong. It is in the style of EverQuest. And while EverQuest has maps today, it must have been 8 odd years before they got a map. And the map that they got were hand drawn. You were exposed to draw your own. But of course, because they were files, someone spent a lot of time kind of running around things, tidying it up, putting labels on it, and put them all up on a website for people to download, so they didn't have to. So, although there were some city maps, there were not general maps of everywhere. Users then made maps of everywhere using the in-game system, and then published them. So, this game, to follow on in the same style, has not directly got maps in it. And the zones in this are huge. And I do mean huge. It's a bit like being told, please go and find the flower that grows within a 1 meter square area somewhere in Texas. And you're like, could have done with a couple more hints for that. But it would detract from the game if you had, here is the bandit camp, here is this, here is that, because then you know exactly where to go. And you shouldn't know where to go because you don't know where to go. Once you know where it is, you know where it is, right? And so I kind of enjoy that about a game. It is, and learning your environment. I mean, wherever you are in the world, if I, got you kidnapped and then left you in the nearest town centre around here, you don't know where anything is. Now, unless you can go and find a map, which of course this days is a lot harder than it sounds, and we've nicked your phone, you have to ask directions. You have to learn relative to here where stuff is, and you build up a map in your head. And that is what this game kind of teaches you to do. Well, and I think that it also, the world seems a lot smaller when you know where everything is. When you know that all you've got to do is go over there, run to this monument thing that you can see in the distance and turn left and then turn right and it'll be there. Oh, thank you, Bailey. Thank you very much. So, like a lot of these things, I enjoy it for having, that kind of slightly lost when you go somewhere new feeling. Hey, Netkisser, how are you? Did I twist them all? I did twist them all. Okay. So yeah. But it is part of the game experience to be lost and work out how to find places and where things are, and when the quest says to go and find some dude in wherever, to go and find out where the hell that actually means. Now, sometimes it is a little too vague, like I said, go and find this little flower that, that exists only in 1 meter square in the middle of Texas, and you're like, yeah, that's a bit vague. But, for the most part, it's not like that. It is well enough explained. Now, it's also vague enough, so it might say they're up the coast from here, but they don't say quite how far. They don't say whether it's in the next zone or not. And more to the point, in the one I'm thinking of, not only is it in the next zone, it's almost in the one after that, because it's right near the zone line for the next one. And these zones are not small places. They, as I said, it's like running the size of Texas. So, you know, they're not small. But you do find yourself, it is the challenge. I think as a new person on day one, when you've literally never seen it before, I mean, I did it this afternoon. You can have a game where you've no idea where you are. You venture out a little bit. You get absolutely whacked to death by something that is bigger than you, and you have no idea where your body is. You've just lost all of your stuff, so you quit. Now, I obviously didn't quit the whole game. I just deleted the character and started again because it was level 1. But it can be a very bitter pill for the first couple of times. But once you've wandered around a little bit more and you've seen a little bit more, you'll realise that your body was actually just behind the big tree from where you started or something. You just didn't know that. And now you know. And so now you've got, the world feels a lot smaller because you know where everything is. And I mean, I'm not going to say I don't do that. I mean, I know that when I first played the game that I've got those buttons for, I must have spent 45 minutes looking to hand in my note, which is the first thing it says you should do. So you get a character, and the first thing it's got on you is a note that says, go and see dude. And obviously it depends which class you are as to which dude, but go and see your dude. He is here, and explains he is in the hospice for a cleric or a paladin. He is in Saltbreeze Park for beast lords, shaman, druids, and you're sitting there going, okay, where the fuck is that? And so there is a bit of that, and I don't disagree that there is a bit of, well, that's really helpful. That doesn't tell me anything, I've just landed on this planet. I have no idea what that means to anybody. Is that a long way, a short way? Is that north, east, south here? I mean, give us a clue, dude. So with that in mind, I do know that I found myself 45 minutes in and I hadn't found it. They have since then introduced signposts, and the guards know more places. So not only now, if you're running around town, there it will say things like the harbour's this way and Sage Side's the other way, and certainly last playtest we had, the guards were quite good, they were quite responsive, they seemed to know where most things were. Now, they're not good at people, so if you've been told to go and find some dude, it probably won't know where some dude is. But the guy who gives you the quest knows where he is, usually. So if he says, I know, go and see Mrs. Baggins. Well, first thing you should ask is, where is Mrs. Baggins? Because he'll probably tell you. I don't think there's a character called Mrs. Baggins, but I was trying to think of a name. It is one of those things is so that, it makes it a lot more doable, because most of the quest givers now will give you some hints. So, for example, a lot of the starter quests get you running around the city looking for things. Or people, more usually. So the bard one, the bard one, the enchanter one, the wizard one, the spellbinder one. A lot of the ones, yeah, green tea's weird. But, thank you for that. You know what I'm not in the mood for today? Spam bots. Hello, spam bot, you asshole. Oh, don't. I swear a little cloud of them came in today. They've all come in for a visit. Well, this is the thing. There's, you know, well, the problem with an awful lot of those phrases is that they're almost regional and they've got slightly different meaning. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day and it was like 3 o'clock in the friggin' morning. And they were not Australian, nor were they British. And it was kind of like, but you just called me mate. I'm not used to that by non-British or Australian people. Right? You know, almost, should I be worried by this? Yeah. But as you say, an awful lot of these kind of terms... Hey, Eka. Yeah, as you say, it is difficult, but, you know, it doesn't mean that, you know, well, you know, the usual traditional example for that is an American will tell you I'm wearing black pants. Now, technically that's true in the UK too, but we're not talking about the same garment. And, you know, it becomes... Oh, we have hundreds of them. It's our language. We have learnt to do weird things with it. Yeah. Bugs are out well and good today. Didn't even see that one. This is the same one. It's a daddy long legs. And it's dead, but occasionally a small breeze will move it, I think is the... No, it's just the daddy long legs remains that is gonna suffer, I think, a long and painful death. It's already dead. Yeah. A hardcore Scottish accent is quite hard to follow. Even though they are the same words, a lot of them. Your brain's going, can you repeat that? Yeah. And I think that's also one of the other things. When you're trying to understand a language that's not your day-to-day language, even if you're reasonably fluid in it, regional dialects and regional accents can really throw it off. Try Welsh. Fuck that. How the Welsh don't cover each other in spit is beyond me. And I'm not talking the Welsh speaking English, I'm talking actual Welsh. If you listen to them speaking Welsh, it's a bit like the African dialect where they talk in clicks and weird things. Welsh kind of feels a lot like that when you're on the outside of it. I remember working late one night with a girl who was Welsh, and her sister-in-law or something phoned up, and they had a whole Welsh conversation. And there was an occasional word like weekend, which was great because I understood weekend, and it wasn't because I was listening to her conversation, but I was absolutely fascinated because it was like, and you're like, do I need to get you a glass of water for that one? You know, you're right. And it's kind of like, I was absolutely fascinated because it sounded like she was having a coughing fit more than speaking. And yeah. Absolutely, right? And yeah. But it is funny how so many languages are like that. I watched some tatting videos, and they're done in Indian. I assume it's probably Urdu. I could be very, very wrong. I have literal no idea what the default language is. But it's also really weird how you get the word you understood. You're like, I understood some of that. Oh, goodness. Well, Netkissy, your English is really good, so, to be honest, but it obviously would be far more practical. So, Netkisser, I've always wondered this. What does Ni Hao mean? Ni Hao. Oh, it probably means, are you doing alright? You know, how you doing kind of thing, probably then. Or the equivalent thereof. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Well, it's a bit like Japanese. Depending on your gender, the question will change. Fuck off. I ain't got time for that. But yes. Yes. Yeah. I find it really, really weird because in a lot of ways, Japanese people are built to be really respectful of their own, right? So in the Japanese country, if you could, oh goodness, Yes, you see, that's the thing. It's a bit like programming. If you forget the exclamation mark to not it out, it's kind of like, you know, it's a bit like sign language. Now, one of the things that I don't understand, and you know, I'm sure you'll follow this along with me. So, there's British Sign Language, there's Makaton, and then there is, like, American Sign Language. And then, like, every country has got their own variation of sign language, right? Now, obviously, when you have different languages, it's not too surprising that you have different signage, because obviously, well, you're talking to other people. But what puzzles me is how the Americans do an awful lot of the one-handed stuff, which I don't know any of. I do know the alphabet in the British Sign Language, and a couple of words, not many. But it is one of those weird things, is that you would have thought if all English countries used the same sign language, at least you'd stand a chance. Because it's a bit like, you know, if I go to America, I know that while a few things I say, some Americans will probably go, that's a bit weird. Well, yes. You know, if you're thirsty and you kind of do the towards your face, people are going to guess that you want a drink, right? But it is one of those weird things, is that it always struck me that surely it would be far better for the deaf people of this world, given that I can go to America and be understood well enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exactly. There's scope, right? Anyway, but it's sad to me that a deaf person can't do the same, because American Sign Language and British Sign Language are quite different. And so now you've gone from being at a disadvantage in a speaking world. Now, it's not that you're worse off, you're no less of a person, but you're in a disadvantage in a speaking world. But now you go to another country that speaks the same shit that you do, in theory, but their hand-wavy conversations don't mean anything to you. That strikes me as a really bad thing. But apparently, the deaf community likes it like that, and I don't understand that one, because surely that just makes it complicated. You know, it just seems a way to, you know, make your own life harder by wanting there to be different languages. I mean, I guess it's a way of doing an accent, but yes. Well, exactly. Well, and that's the thing, is that surely, you know, there is an element of people that you would expect for there to be a want to be able to communicate with Australians and Americans and yeah. Well, to be honest, kanji is a very odd thing to me, because, like you've covered, is that how you pronounce a syllable can drastically change what it means. Now, we all know that English has got, like, read and read, but we don't have too many words that are exactly the same spelling with different pronunciation that, you know, completely flip it up. Because obviously in English you wouldn't say I read newspaper. You'd say I read the newspaper, but then you'd also say I read the newspaper. How would you know without context which was which, right? But it is. I just. Right. I'll do this one now. You should be crossed. So yes, it's been a weird day for me today. I don't know about you. And a bit like the Germans, they tend to add "g" to the front of it to say they did it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh goodness. Yeah. I'm no good at languages. So I'm just watching a video about Path of Exile 2. Bear with me a second. I must admit, I really upset some kids on the tube in London once, as they were German and they were slagging off some guy. And as I got off, I wished them a really good time in our country and in German and walked away because I was doing German at school. And the look on their faces, realising they'd been understood, really hit hard. And I think I liked that. I liked the fact that I knew enough to follow what they were talking about. And I mean, I probably would have been able to conversationally keep up with them, but I could follow what they were talking about. And I quite liked that. And I guess, like everything, it's a bit like the being fit enough to get out of danger, but not needing to run a marathon for the fun of it, right? It's that difference. It's the, if there was an emergency, could I run to so-and-so or get to so-and-so? Could I carry, lift, do whatever? But at the same time, I don't need to run 26 miles because, God forbid, that's not likely to be a thing that I'm going to need. And I think I like the idea of being able to converse with people irrelevant of where they're from, which is why, again, I find it weird that the deaf community want hard mode. They want each of them to have their own thing. 0.4. Sorry, I was a bit distracted because they were talking about an update for Path of Exile and lots of explosions and things, so... Yeah, I mean, given that we're in a world where we all now can communicate with people from other countries at the drop of a hat, as proved by our chat now, right? The ability to make people feel included, to have enough wherewithal to make sure that everyone feels comfortable. Now, obviously, for example, even if you studied hard, yeah, Irish, Welsh and Scots, although all Celtic at base, do not like it when you confuse them. It's a bit like confusing rugby league with rugby union. It's a bit like calling American football, and not when it should be what they call soccer, because, no offence, it was out long before they thought of it. And, all of these kind of things is the You know, it's like calling, you know, crochet knitting. It's, you know, if you say, oh, that's lovely knitting to a crochet, expect the hook to go in your eyeball and rip it clean out, right? It is. Or, like when my ex-husband did, handmade items are supposed to have mistakes in it. They're not supposed to have mistakes in it. They nearly always do, but they're not supposed to have mistakes in it. And I've never forgotten that one. It still burns deeply inside. Because of course there's mistakes in it. It's handmade. But it doesn't mean it's supposed to have mistakes in it. It just means that it likely will. There is distinctly a difference. You don't set out to fuck it up. Exactly! Exactly that. It's like, come here and say that. I'm going to bitch slap your face off into a whole new realm. You're not going to wake up for a couple of years. Do not. Do you want this round up your butt or something? I mean, it's you know, them fighting words. And it was after I'd made them something as well. And it is. There is a little bit of you that goes, oh, burn it then, you know? Everyone has a limit. Everybody has limits. And I'll find someone who does love it, even if I don't, you know. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It I mean, what he meant was, it's handmade. I don't mind that it's not perfect. But of course, thems were not the words that were said. The words that were said, frankly, were quite hurtful. But that's not what he meant. And, you know, it is really hard because, you know, well, exactly, right? It's a bit like if you go searching on Amazon for... yeah, I did really shit job on this, so I made it for you, so I'm giving it to you. Yeah. That's more my answer. I made so many fuck ups, I don't want it, so I'm giving it to you. Yeah. So you keep talking about Spanish, and although I don't really know any Spanish, there was a skit done on a comedy show, and the skit kind of went Chris Waddle. That's all I can think of when you say Spanish. Yeah. Yeah. See, I always thought Portuguese and Spanish were close. But I am not a linguist in any shape or form. As obviously proved by the fact that I can butcher English, so, you know. Well, exactly. Now this, we started this, one moment, we started this, she says go looking at the photos on her phone. The first one, 6th of August. So we've done 29 inches almost in that many days. And then once we get to the bottom, we will have 6 more to go. And a whole load more pricking for the next one because, well, yeah, lace is not a speed sport. So I've done, bear in mind most books marks would be about half the width of this, but you know, this is my 29-inch mark here. And we have done that with a bunch of days off, doing roughly, you know, somewhere around about 2 hours ago. That's the key of any language, is you don't have to be proficient in it, but as long as you can get your gist of what you want over, it's good enough. By the way, I'm really enjoying that we're having a good conversation about languages while we do this. That's a nice thing. I like that. It's nice to be having a good conversation. Well, I mean, obviously, you know, I listen to you via text to speech, but certainly your written English is really quite good. My text to speech does not normally trip up on you, so it's not, you're doing all right. Don't put yourself down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know, it is. be honest, as someone who can't do other languages, you know. As I say, I think one of the biggest problems with a lot of languages is when you've got someone who speaks more than one language, so their first language is not the one you're going to be using. You've got their accent in it, and that can really heavily play on what you hear. So, for example, I used to work with a guy, and his English, everyone thought his English was shit. Everyone thought he spoke terrible English. But he didn't. He just spoke it incredibly fast. I mean, people accuse me and a lot of English speakers of speaking quite quickly. But he really did like 100 miles an hour. With a really, really heavy accent. And so it was really easy to miss great chunks of it. And it must have been nearly 10 years later, I bumped into him in a car park. And it was kind of like, hi, how are you? Oh, hi, Liz. And you're like, oh, how are you? What have you been up to? I understood every damn frigging word. My brain had not forgotten how to translate and prepare for the onslaught of words that was to come. And I kept up with him. I had a great conversation. And I walked away, and I know that there'd been people that had walked past us in the car park, and you could kind of see them going, how the fuck? Because I was so... I worked with him for a number of years. It was obviously still in there somewhere. And yeah, I had a great conversation with him. But I also know that no one around us understood a word he said. Because you had to tune in. It was like a badly tuned radio almost. You had to kind of grasp the straws originally and work backwards and try and fill in the gaps. Well, I think it depends the subjects as well. Well, and I think, like we were saying though, is but as long as you're understood enough, it's all that matters. And I have no problem with the speed of talking, but it does depend on the subject. So if you're talking about how are you, what you've been up to, how's the family, basically shit that doesn't really matter, speed is not a problem. When you're trying to learn something from them, speed is a problem. So when you have, if I was trying to teach you, I know, how to write games in Unity and you don't already know, yeah. And I think that's it. I think is if you're just doing casual conversation, a bit like we're having now, the speed of the conversation isn't so much of a problem. Because whether you really understood it or not, you can smile politely and keep going. When it's something that you've got to learn for your job and you need to understand, and it is not a simple press that button there, now you need them to slow the heck down and talk in English or talk in whatever language is of choice. But in my case, speak proper English. Don't skip half of it. Don't use words that, don't substitute the ones you don't, you're not good at. Because, if you've called it pants and it's not pants, it's going to be a problem, right? You have to have, you can't make do. You have to have pretty good. And I think that's the difference, is that if you go on holiday and you need another towel, as long as you can kind of go, towel, this will be enough in whichever language you want. Or point at yourself and go, towel, they'll get the hint. Whereas if they go, bugger only knows, you could just say your entire family was wiped out in some hideous accident, or that could mean have a nice day. How the heck would I know? You need when you're being trained, you need a strong grasp and not a slow speaker, but you need an appropriate speaker to learn from. You can't, and I mean, I really, really, really want to learn more sign language. I don't know why, it's just something my brain's really fixated on. And part of me wants to learn American Sign Language and British Sign Language. I just don't have... I mean, I could probably poke Adam and see if he'd teach me. I have a friend who works as a programmer for a dentist company, or at least he used to, and he's deaf, but he used to hear, so he can speak very well. He lost his hearing due to an illness, so he's got very good speech. So what we've had many conversations where I type at him, he will talk back. And he would be great to teach me sign language, because he knows how abstract it is compared to the normal pattern of speech. So yeah, there is a big part of me which would love to learn British Sign Language. I know how to introduce myself. Doesn't really work on a camera that looks downwards. But I know how to say hello, my name is, and then you give yourself a nickname. I can do that. But I'm not sure I picked the best nickname, but I did that. Yeah. Language barriers can be quite surprising, because you can have someone who talks very good talk, but at the same time, like we were saying earlier about, the colloquialisms and weird phrases that nations or areas have, if you add that into a mix, it can really hamper what is being said and understood. To a lot of English speakers, a mate is your sexual partner. In England and Australia, no, it's not. It's a friend. Well, that's quite a big difference after all. Yes. But I work in an area where we have a lot of people who are not... English is not their first language. And I don't really care where they come from, you know, or anything. But at the same time, there's a number of reasons why it seems incredibly weird with where we are, right? And I can't tell you why, but just go with it, really is. And it's one of those burning questions you always want to ask, but you're not allowed to, so you don't. But we have a number of people who almost the first thing they say to you is, my English isn't very, very good. But you work in an English company doing very specifically English things. Was this really the best we could hire if your English isn't good enough, you know? Yeah. As you say, you know, sometimes... Well, I mean, we read out this. You weren't around for this, so I have some glue. It is glue, right? It's fabric glue. Let me flatten it slightly and see if you can read the bottom. Well, let me read this blue bit at the bottom. It says, and I will read it as it is written, and it takes a lot for me to do this, okay? So, for example, the first hint should be, it says environmental protection, right? Anyway, great for all fabrics, comma, cotton, comma, flannel, comma, denim, comma, leather, comma, dull polyester, one word, comma, cloth, comma, and lawn repair, the lawn repair is one word, and other materials. On the back, there are instructions. If you are drinking or eating, I suggest putting them down. For the following story of the back of the glue thing will have you laughing. So, product characteristics. This product has strong adhesive force, comma, high water resistance is one word, and aging resistance, it's dashed over one line. Melt with a capital M, not yellow, comma, soft, and other, one word. Characteristics. Fabric glue provides a superior bond on stubborn, porous, I'm sure there's a U missing in that, and other non-porous substrates. Yeah, and yes, and then obviously great for all fabrics, and like it said on the front. Application method. Pre-use, comma, clean and sand and the degum depart, there's a line feed in the middle of that, of the cloth. Who sands cloth, people? Spread the glue, nylon, both sides of the crack. It's supposed to be evenly on, but it says nylon, both sides of the crack. Do not use too much is one word, glue to prevent the glue from overflowing. After applying glue, align the position, it's in the middle of a line, and paste immediately for 20 seconds. Can be fixed with rubber bands or clips for more than 24 hours. If it is a cold winter, the curing time will be longer. Please be patient. After using fabric glue, please be sure to wait 24 hours before the glue to fully cure before using. The longer curing time, the stronger the DC repair effect. Please wait patiently. And the note at the bottom says, possible stimulation to skiing and eyes. In case of contact with skiing and eyes, please rinse with plenty of water. Please use the glue in a ventilated environment and avoid skin contact. Please keep the glue away from children and fire sources and store it in a cool place. I am not making this up. Okay? This stuff, it's great glue, by the way, but the instructions. But see, if you had instructions like that and it was important for your job, you get distracted from the meaning by laughing at the fact that it kind of is the direct translation, right? And so you do need sometimes for all instructions to be properly considered as to who is going to be giving them. Because if this is the best person to check that the instructions are correct or not for the audience. Now, it's not that the instructions are wrong, but for the audience you're aiming them at, you really needed someone who spoke better English than that. And because it, you know, if you're giving a safety briefing, right, if there is a danger to life and limb, you need them not to be laughing. Exactly. You need, you know, kind of a casual English acquaintance to run it by and go, can you check this doesn't say, you know, I'm going to shag your mother up the butt with a cucumber and a haggis? You know, can you just confirm that I've not written stupid stuff? And when they write back, oh my God, I know what you meant, print this instead. That's exactly what you need. But when, as you say, that they're as bad or even potentially worse than you, this is not the best plan. And as I say, when you're having a casual conversation like this, doesn't matter how broken your English is. When you're talking safety briefings, when you are training people on their livelihood, you need it to be good enough. This is the time when it matters, right? Hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, there are times you can get away with it and times you can't. And, you know, you wouldn't want someone in England thinking poorly of your product. So let's say you wrote, I don't know, some computer program. You would not want someone hating on your computer program because the manual was shit. Yes. And so there's a girl on YouTube who has agreed to have her videos automatically translated by YouTube. This is not fucking crochet, people. But it keeps talking of crochet. And it's like, it's not fucking crochet. These things do matter. And, you know, if you consider that there are, as we all know, AI books abound these days. And that's the kind of thing that the AI book does. And because whoever made it probably has no idea on the subject, they let it fly because they don't know anything about it. And, well, you know, a beginner coming along is now going to be stuck with a book that doesn't mean anything to anybody because it's used the wrong terminology. It's, you know, it's confusing. So there are times when quality matters and there are times when it doesn't. It's a bit like a bodge job. There are times when you can bodge something to fix it and there are times when you can't. You know, as a whole, you'd like to think that if your surgeon goes in, he's not going to bodge it, right? Because, well, you really would like to think that he's not. On the other hand, if the cupboard door in the kitchen's a bit loose, a bit of a bodge is not a problem. It's not going to hurt anybody. So, you know, there are times to make it up, and you know, there are times that it's not. It's just kind of, and you need the language to match that. You need, you know, where you can't bodge it, where it's got to be done well because it's being sold for a lot of money, or it's you know, going to hold people, you know, people's lives in its hands, kind of thing. You need people to be understanding. You don't need them to be playing guess what they meant, you know, rereading it 6 times, going, maybe they mean this. And this is often true. And it can be close, but at the same time, it can also, as you've kind of said, it can almost be from the wrong point of view. So it may be talking about the same thing, but if it's talking about it in a... Let's go have a look. Yeah, exactly. You know, if someone sent this, hang on, let me, you know, let me share this to the world. Hang on, let me click on the thing. Where's my desktop thing gone? Oh, there it is. Blind woman. Yeah, right. So, this is the picture. Parkside safety spectacles offers hearing protection. Right? Well, which is it? If you don't, which one's wrong? I mean, if it didn't have a picture on it, which one's wrong? Spectacles or hearing? If you didn't know, because it hasn't got a picture on it, how would you know? And it is times like that when, in a way, it does matter. Because, well, if you don't know... Well, there is that. It's better than eyeglasses, looks at the Americans. But it is... But you see, imagine if that was a poisonous substance. Yeah. Yeah, I get that one. I understand that one. Oddly enough, basically, I would guess. Well, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because, to be honest, as I said, right, it is. I think the translation probably should have been, if the previous software did not support this version, then the scanner will not work. Or if the version is upgraded to this version, it will not work. But as you say, it's the kind of, you're left sitting there going, they are English words, but they are not in an order which makes sense to anybody. Can you please try again? And I think that can be true with a lot of things, is that, I mean, I was talking to someone the other day, and that's the thing, this is why a quality translation is relevant on some things and less relevant on others. Now, we've all laughed at the kind of, Chinese menu converted to English, joke things that go out there and all of that kind of thing. And to an extent, a Chinese menu does not have to be hugely accurate, right? Unless you're allergic to something. But when you have a technical manual that could be keeping someone alive, it is important that the language you've had it translated into, whatever language that may be, is of substantially reasonable quality, that it makes sense. And when it doesn't make sense, that you're not going to end up causing a problem by the confusion. Because, it is, the translations are where so much of it can go wrong. And as you say, it's, I know that some of the people I speak to at work have that kind of reaction to things that I've said. And it's almost I heard the words, I recognise each of the words individually as recognisable, and I know what those words individually mean. However, in the order that you have combined them, these do not mean anything to me. And it's a bit like doing a role-play game where you've got crafting, and, it'll be things like 3 spider legs, a bat ear, and some moss makes, I don't know, intricate armour or something, and you're going, how the fuck does that work? But, it is what it is. But it is almost that level of, I'm sorry, but I need to know for sure that the things you told me to put in here are these things. Because if I make something poisonous out of this, if it says, if you imagine, because we all know that the pufferfish contains, you can't eat a certain bit of it. Well, if those instructions are not accurate, well, death will ensue. So the instructions need to be pretty damn accurate. Otherwise, well, you're going to be sued later. And considering the cost of having something proofread by someone who is a more natural speaker of the language in question, in this day and age where the internet, pretty much, I'm sure if you found the right Reddit forum, you could find a language speaker of pretty much anything in a few minutes. Can you read this and tell me what it says? The answer that, or can you read this and check, we'll give you 50 quid or whatever the equivalent, of their currency is. Can you read this and confirm that this does not read like, one of those 1980s back of a cornflake packet? Yes, it's certainly something about the version number is important. I think we can establish that. What it actually implies now, is it that the software can't upgrade from before that version to a later version for some reason that they will not be compatible. Maybe. Is it, so for example, take my phone, right? I have an Apple phone. You can't just slap the newest version of Apple OS on a really old Apple phone. It doesn't work. And at some point, a new version of Apple will not work on my version of phone. And it may be that, you know, stuff made with that's currently got up to this version will not be supported anymore because it cannot be upgraded beyond that. Now, maybe that's what it said. Well, exactly. And so, you know, it's not advised, it's not supported. So, you know, in the right, you know, if you're doing it to your own vehicle, do what the fuck you like. But, you know, at the same time, don't go crying to Apple if it breaks, right? You know, that kind of thing, right? So, there is a bit of you that is left thinking, well, so I know that the version number is important, we've established that. But that's about all we really did do in that sentence. No one entirely knows what they meant. Because, as you say, it's open now for interpretation. Now, one of the things that I have discovered as an autistic is that I can often find ambiguity where everyone thought it was clear. Like we were saying the other day about when it says increase every 6, I know stitches or rows, doesn't really matter, is that do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and then increase, or increase on the 6th row. And does that increase row count as row 1, or does that now, do you start 1 afterwards? Well, because if you do it after 6, you do 6 rows, increase, and then start again, well, technically that's then 7 rows of the whole thing, of the repeat. Or if it counts as the 6th row and you start 1 on the next one, well, that's 6 rows in rotation. But if it's on the 6th row but also counts as the first row, well, that's only every 5. So it does kind of matter, right? And that's the thing, is stuff like that, depending, you know, imagine... Well, exactly. Is it including, excluding? Can you know, and it is. It sounds really pedantic, but sometimes, like your version thing, right? Just being specific would completely fix the whole confusion, right? In that it doesn't take much to take confused to not confused by just being specific. And, you know, in the case of the poor, the phrase in the manual, a couple of pictures probably would help. So if it is to convert from summer to winter settings, well, it could do a picture of sun and a snowflake, you know. It is hard, but that, you know, imagine that was medical equipment. How happy would you be if you found that your surgeon was going to have to use that and that was the quality of the instructions? Would you really, really want that used on you now? I bet the answer's probably not. Well, there's actually a whole bunch of short videos going around, and there's two guys, and I believe they're both Chinese, but one kind of says to the other one, "How do you say?" and then says something in Chinese, and he'll go like, "There was," and I can't remember what he was asking, but it's like, "How do you say this in Chinese, Ken?" How do you say this in Chinese? Ken. How do you say this in Chinese? Ken. How do you write it? Scribble, scribble, scribble. How do you write this? Scribble, scribble, scribble. Okay. So how would you, it's kind of like, so how would you say this, 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 the other, some other word, whatever. Ken, right? And it kind of proves the point, because he said, well, how would you know? And he kind of looked and laughed. Because the answer is they don't either. And I think, as you say, that it's all well and good to have, 52 different names for the word snow and all of that. But if you can't discuss something and be sure you're talking about the same object, it's not a good plan, is it? Again, if you were talking body parts, you don't want there to be ambiguity between various body parts if they're talking of removing it. You don't want to remove the wrong one. Yeah. Exactly. It's like I was saying earlier. If I wrote down which is that past tense or ongoing? I think it probably is, because that's kind of what I think. This is pretty much the same shit, to be honest. Stimulate the taste free. Excellent. Gravity magic rubber. Yeah, it's basically the same shit. Yeah, I've got some super glue somewhere around here that's got writing like that on it, actually. It says quickly looking. I'm trying to work out where my super glue's gone. Yeah. I should have a tube of super glue around here somewhere. Because I say super glue, but it's not super glue. It is super glue, you know what I mean. It's super glue, but they don't call it super glue. Problem is like everything, if I'm not careful, I'll trigger a cascade failure of stuff on my table. Because I have odd things like a can of compressed air. Now I had it the other day, so I know it's around here somewhere. had it the other day because I glued one of the little balls back on one. Is it in my bit of stuff there? I drop it in here perhaps. Nope. Not in my box of stuff. Oh, there it is. That's it. I too have strange glue, and as you say, they do make for good reading. If you're ever feeling down, just read the nearest glue packet. Frankly, oh yeah, I've got the same. Yeah, it's pretty much the same shit you have actually, because mine also says stimulate the taste free. If you look, I just have a small tube. Again, the back of the packet is where the most amusement comes from. Yeah. Well, the bit that makes me laugh about this one, so, yeah, seriously. Let me check that this comes up well on camera. I don't know if you can see that. Hang on. Let me make this full screen so I can see what you see. Right. And I can see. Stimulate the taste free. Okay. It is not our imagination. The back of it reads, B7000 acrylic diamond adhesive is one can safely toy, glowers, jewellery, Lundicrafts, it's not handicrafts, and other industries, the special environment protection. Oh yeah, skiing, yeah. Adhesive bonding and other products are not afraid of bad compare with acrylic drilling bottom. B7000 irritant odor one component model through tiny belong to Ming solution glue greenhouse curing convenient operation without the need to separately both open cover can use. High elastic rubber film soft vibration proof and waterproof. B7000 adhesive paste more material on metal. Well, basically it does feel like if there was a way to fuck it up, they were all over that. The one thing that I do find slightly amusing, their glue packet's falling apart and it's got glue on it. It's almost like, does your glue not stick your glue stuff together? But yeah, I have the small tube. That's the difference. I have the small tube. That's all it is. I've got a bigger tube somewhere. It's over there somewhere. But yeah, there's a slightly fuller tube of it. Look, I've got a couple. Yeah. Well, it does make you wonder a little bit, doesn't it? It does. There is a little bit of you going, so what did it originally say? And if I was to translate this for you, and I was to be looking at the words that, you know, Hugamahumpty stands for, which would I have picked? Yeah. But as you say, the word not and no and easily omitted somewhere could easily change the whole, you know, basically please store in fire, you know, or something, and he'd be like, nah. Well, they've certainly grabbed a few wrong ones, you know. Um, but again, sometimes it really is. It's more a case of you've got all the right words, but you've not put them in quite the right order for them to make the sense of what you meant. No, that's not right, stupid cow. This doesn't look right at all. Let's try that again. For some reason it didn't look right, but I think it is. So. Well, and that's the thing. It could be, well, I read the newspaper. As in, I read one every day. Oh, yes, it's a bit like I take the newspaper. I get one every day. It is something like that. It is, you know, there are things like, you know, she behind me, you know, those kind of things. And that's the problem, is that, and this is why, you know, when you're writing something of importance in a language that is not not something you are renowned to be great at. That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. But that's the kind of time where, well, it's a bit like over the years they've renamed some products because it meant wrong things in other countries. But for example, Jif, as in JIF, not GIF or whatever, right? JIF, the cleaning product here in the UK, got renamed to SIF because Jif meant something somewhere else. What has made me laugh over the years is the number of products that are somewhere else that don't get renamed. So, for example, 20 years ago, well, 20 years ago, a guy I was working with went on holiday, and in the airport on the way back, he saw something quintessentially me. Now, bear in mind, 20 years ago, I'd been at the company I was at for a few months as a Unix administrator, and he brought me back a packet of boiled orange sweets, so hard candy to the Americans, boiled orange sweets, called Unix. There were sweets called Unix. I don't know where he went, but you know, it seems kind of really, really wrong. I mean, I wonder if they're still around. Hang on. There you go. Unix is an operating system that I have been using for 30 something years, right? I can't press my button, hang on. Get desktop, go. There you go, Unix suites. Those ones happen to be Harmony and Lemon. But the pit... But there you go, Unix suites. They are still in existence. Yeah, yeah, that's how you spell Unix. UNIX. Oh, they're from Thailand. There you go. Unix, the operating system, is also spelled like that. And I can tell you now, Unix probably came first, the operating system, because it's quite old. But yeah, I got given a pack of orange Unix sweets. Ah. Now you're thinking of Unix, not Unix. Yeah. It's all I can say to that. And for those who are unclear, a eunuch is a man who has been castrated. Yeah, no, eunuch. So I would expect EUNUCK. It's not, but that's a bit more phonetic. Eunuchs. Yeah, Nick is kind of more phonetical. But bear in mind that is my job. So, but then I've been playing with it since I was 16. So. I got to learn Unix before I got to learn DOS, so, you know, I'm old, okay? DOS was not really a thing when I started, so I learned Unix. Yes. Well, okay. But see, there again, that shows exactly why correct documentation matters. Because if you verbally stood in front of a crowd of people and you kept calling it Unix and or Unix and it was Unix, or you know, it's one of those things where pronunciation matters. You know? Aren't we all? Wrong hole. Do not laugh. Wrong hole. Yeah, talking about Unix and holes is probably not the best conversation. That's because it's a reasonable assumption, because Linux is a variant of Unix. And that's what I do all day, so... Oh dear. I'm going to guess that would be you. It is, I think it's one of those weird things is that, obviously I have not always been a Unix administrator. I've been many things. But at the same time, it's been quite a long time now that I've worked in an operations environment. Former to that, I was a programmer. And so it is kind of weird sometimes how different environments work from a work perspective. Because, if I know the impression we get sometimes in operations of users is that they sit around thinking all we do all day is play Pong, and that, we've got nothing better to do. That's... They all say that. But yeah, our users seem to think that we sit around all day doing nothing. Because the number of times, that they'll log a ticket in the help desk system for, I know, access to something, or can, someone reboot this server or whatever, and it'll be like, the email from the help desk system hasn't even arrived yet, and it is pretty instant. Why haven't you done it yet? Done fucking what? Well, I put in a ticket like 10 seconds ago, dude. I'm allowed to breathe, go get a drink, go to the toilet, be in the middle of another ticket. Seriously. Yeah. And as you say, especially with stuff like that, quality is not always great. Do you remember the other day I was saying on stream how my USB thing had gone a bit wonky, and I didn't know what it was, so we finished stream anyway. I think it was when we were playing Bonk, actually, and when I came to do stream Tuesday or whenever it was, I mentioned that it'd be my soundbar. Well, the soundbar that I'm now using is got to be 10, 12 years old. The one that died was about 13 months. Modern stuff is, you know, it's not always better. And I mean, it wasn't exactly a no-name brand at that either. It was a Creative Labs one. So it should have been good. But it was a pain in the arse. So now it's died. Part of me is not going to miss it. Because, and I mean this with all respect to a lot of things, it had the option of being a Bluetooth speaker. The problem is despite it being plugged in, so being used as a USB soundbar, you still had to turn it on every time. It wouldn't turn on with the computer. So the number of times if you turned it off, now if you turn it off it will search for Bluetooth devices, but after a while it switches over to assuming it's Bluetooth even though nothing's connected. So if you have like a BIOS update or something, when you come back, well, you had to kind of turn it off, turn it on again, because you can't just press the button and have it switch, because that'd be too freaking easy. It doesn't automatically come on if you've turned your machine off all night. You come down in the morning, press the button, turn it on. But the soundbar doesn't come on with the machine, even though it's now got power and you'd think it would fire up. No, it doesn't. It was just a pain in the butt. Whereas the one that I've got is a really, really, really simple device that, as long as it's plugged in and there's power, it's on. The sound from it is slightly pansier, but it's perfectly good. I mean, I really did notice the difference when I immediately swapped over. And originally it was like, oh God, that sounds weird now. But now I almost can't remember how different it was. You know, it really didn't take long to move over, shall we call it. But it's kind of weird how your brain will play tricks on you like that. Ouch. Well, there is a way in which that would be true. Now, if you convert a number of volts down to a lower number of volts, you change the ampage, right? And the amps go up, as I seem to recall. So it could be it just couldn't handle that. I mean, I'm not an electronics expert after all. Yeah. So it could be that it didn't handle the amps rather than the volts, if that makes sense. So I was paying attention, Mr. Martin. He was my physics teacher. I was listening. Yep, don't worry, I'm about to finish stream as it is. Because, well, I'm just kind of making up for the slight dent on that side. Oops. Right, so let me edit my so we are now there we go. We are now at inch 29. I think we should be proud of that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Put a stick in that. Right. Capacitors don't like amps, as I recall. They don't go pop. Need a photo. Right. I need to be able to see that there. Yeah. I don't see blatant, screamingly obvious issues. I'm sure there are some, but I don't see any at this time. We all know how this glaring at the photograph works. But for example, look at this. That is the end of my strip. So we only have this bit to go, and we will have completed the first of 7 strips. Which I'm pleased about. And rightly so, I think. Static breaks a lot of things, and this is why, as part of where I work, we have to do static training, even though I do not play with anything that I could kill with static, frankly. But we do have to do training about it because of the level of what static is. It can kill a lot of circuits, and you don't think about it, because you really don't, because they don't do you any harm other than make you jump a bit. You really don't think twice about it, but it can kill a lot of electronic things. So yes, yeah, you have my sympathies though. You really do. Anyway, on this note, I am kind of done for today, I think. We have achieved inch 29. I'm feeling pleased. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna do for today. I'm gonna go and get a snack because while it's 11:15, I'm hungry. So I'm gonna go and get a snack. I thank you very much for joining me today. I've enjoyed thoroughly the conversation that we've all had, because it's meant that we've just had a really great conversation, and I feel really kind of at peace. I think that's the word I'm after. And no, you're fine. You're fine. No, it's fine. It's making life hard for me. So. It's okay. No, I know what you meant, so that's fine. Yeah. Anyway, as I said, I'm going to go, but I've really enjoyed today's conversation. You sure you don't work for a lot? I certainly will agree with you. If it's not broken, that means I can keep going, right? It's still good, yeah. No, I cannot say just how much today's conversation has been good for me. It's been great, and not a conversation I ever thought I would have had. You know, talking. We spent quite a while talking about languages and the specifics of making sure the right things in the right places, and it's. Well, no one knows what I do, which is thoroughly being proved right now. So, um, but that's the way it goes. Um, I've got 2 weeks to go. Um, but yeah, I've absolutely enjoyed talking with you this evening, and I hope we get to do it again. Because did we talk of anything really deep and meaningful? No. Did we really put anything to right? No. Was it great fun? Absolutely. So, yeah, thank you for joining me today, and I honestly mean it's been great. Well, they can, and one of the things that I do fear is that if people wander in, um, if they come along and all there is me silently throwing bobbins around, they don't want to stay because there's no conversation. And so the fact that we've had a conversation today, well, it's and the fact that they even in their own eyes, they have confusing things that they don't realise until they look on it with other people's eyes, right? And you know, it's not a race thing. It is a purely if you use this word for this and this and this and this, how in the name of mercy can you be sure you're all talking about the same thing, right? And it's a genuine interest. You know, how do you guys cope with it? How do you know which one it is? You know, and sometimes, as you say, is the well, it is, but you also have to be peer reviewed by someone who can actually like peer review it and not just give it to your nephew because he needs some money, right? And who's just gonna go, dick. Anyway, I shall see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, right? Oh no, it's Dad's birthday tomorrow. I thought it was the 26th today. How did I get that confused? Anyway, it's 26th tomorrow, that's Dad's birthday. So, tomorrow afternoon we will be on at 2 o'clock. As always, I look forward to seeing you there, hopefully. If you can't make it, that's fine. Have a good night, everybody, and I shall see you all soon. Bye bye.